Hi, it's Andrea here. Just popping in midweek to say hi. I was so blessed to hold a gathering yesterday when I was feeling so much more myself, to hold the space, to move through some of that lunar eclipse energy that's been showing up for so many people in all sorts of different ways. And what really came to me is that this is the time where the butterfly is starting to emerge from the chrysalis, I think it's called. And there's that in-between phase between being in the cocoon and becoming the butterfly. And for me, it's like it's an empty space. It's like the old has started to fall away. Then the new isn't quite ready. And it's that sort of space in between that can kind of start to make room for creativity and can start to make room for that new version of ourselves to emerge. But it can be a little bit disorientating. And as part of that kind of disorientation, we can start to feel old patterns rise to the surface, and imposter syndrome was coming up. For a lot of people over the last few days, everybody I've kind of spoken to has kind of mentioned about the soul calling that has been coming, the inspiration, if you want to call it, that creation in the ether that has sort of sparked some interest in people, and yet that inner critic, that imposter syndrome. Not a big fan of that word, syndrome. Whoever invented that word. Imposter, feeling like an imposter, inner critic, monkey mind, I like to call it, become quite a good friend of mine over the years. But essentially what it's doing is it's stopping us from doing our thing. For me, I used to resort to procrastination, to keeping myself busy, doing lots of other things, but not doing what my soul was calling me to put into action. So to put that idea into action. And I have done a lot of work over the years. I have learned, I have remembered. And so I'm really feeling the call to offer this coming Friday at midday UK time. I think it's British summer time it's called at the moment. Midday, I'm going to run a Zoom. And we're going to move through some of that energy because it shows up so differently for everybody, right? Because it's all based on the lens through which we see the world and the experiences that we have had throughout our world, throughout our lifetime, and we're going to give it a voice. Imagine that. We're not going to manage it, because that has not worked for me long term. We can tell it to go away, but again, that will only work so often. We can ignore it, we can push it down, and we can use positive affirmations. Again, all of those things have worked for me in brief pockets of time, but they haven't worked for me long term. And what has really worked for me is moving through the energy, is, I know it sounds bizarre, but giving it a voice. Letting the inner critic, that inner part of you who's feeling a little bit scared, which is fair enough, to feel scared about creating something new, about sharing something with the world. Let's move through that energy of, here are some examples that have come up for me. You're not good enough, clever enough, knowledgeable enough, experienced enough, educated enough. You don't have the time, resources, energy, knowledge, qualifications. Bit of a pattern there. You are not as good as, you don't have as many followers as, and all of that is just stopping us from sharing our vibe, right? So let's move through this energy together. However it is showing up for you, I am going to invite you to join me on Zoom this Friday midday I'm going to send the link through on this in terms of how to join, register for free, and let's get to the wisdom. Let's move through that energy and let's get through to the wisdom to help us to move forward instead of repeating those old patterns and getting stuck and then getting really frustrated and then somebody else doing it and us going, I had that idea. And even if somebody else has that idea and is putting that idea into action, they're not going to do it the way that you are. And I can tell you all this till the cows come home, right? People can give you advice, but at the end of the day, if there's stuff in your subconscious that's stuck there, then it's time to listen to that little voice and know that you will be in a safe space to help you to move through that energy. So sending so much love, as always, wishing that you move through the energy of the rest of this week with ease and grace. Sending so much love. Namaste.